Hi, Guy from Bugs and Stuff here. Today we're going to rehouse a tarantula. Now tarantulas require rehousing several times throughout their lives in captivity as they grow. We use smaller containers for smaller spiders, but as the spider gets bigger it should be rehoused into larger accommodation so it feels comfortable. Today we're rehousing a beautiful spider that originates from Sri Lanka. This is Poecilotheria subfusca, sometimes called the Highland form. It's an arboreal species and I've been lucky enough to see this one in the wild. So I'll put a link in the description below so you can see that video which is already on this channel. I've got everything we need in front of us today. We've got substrate, we've got moss, we've got cork bark, we've got the permanent adult accommodation, a nice glass tank that it can be displayed in nicely. And I'm going to take you through step by step how we rehouse it and in a safe way, because this is a venomous tarantula. Alright, so we've got to be careful. So let's give it a go. First thing we're going to look at is the substrate. Now there's a lot of debate about different types of substrates, but personally over the last 30 years I've used coir. I've used coir blocks like this. Now tarantulas which live in trees do not require a deep substrate, but they still use it to maintain humidity in captivity. So what we're going to do, we need to get it from its dry state into its usable state. So all I do is I place it in an old dish like this and we add water. Now how much water depends on the size of the container, but as a rule of thumb, what I wait to, as soon as the block starts to float in the water, that's usually enough for one size block for this size container. So it takes a few hours for it to completely soak up the water altogether. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this aside for now, let it do its job, and then we'll get on with getting the spider out of its old container, ready to transfer. Okay, we're all set. So what I like to do is I like to place the original container in a much bigger, wider tub. This is going to capture the spider if it suddenly runs out of this tub and tries to escape. If we didn't have this, it could be on the floor, could disappear, could just be a world of hassle to try and catch it again. So we'll take you through how we're going to do it. So the spider, if you look through the side, is actually on the top here. If you can see it there. The spider is actually near the top, which is quite good. Often hidden at the bottom and you have to dig everything out, but being arboreal, these tarantulas like to spend a lot of the time on the top. So if we gently open the lid, you can see the spider there. She's moving down there because it's a little bit nervous. So the essentials when you're transferring spiders are a little tub, catch cup, a paintbrush, which I always like to use, nice soft paintbrush, and maybe a pair of forceps. So let's see if we can do it nice and gently. When you're dealing with tarantulas, the best way to do it is just to be firm but gentle. Alright, you want to persuade the spider who's in control of the situation and just not be scared. Okay, should we try it? So I'm going to try, we'll just get behind here. She's going to come out. You always like to keep the lid at hand here. So we're just gently, but we're going to get it to come near the top. She's going to come out. Hopefully you can see that. She's initially a bit apprehensive to leave the safety of a container, so we have to make sure that we're going to get her out in a safe way. So moving along the side of the body, convinces the spider that it needs to come out. As you can see, takes a little bit of persuasion, but eventually we can get it to come out. And this is why we need that big container here. The spider's now out, so to stop it going back in, we just put the lid on. And the spider's out now. You can have a close look at her. Isn't she beautiful? Hopefully you can see that. I will shoot some closer video when it's out of its box. Okay. Now this is quite easy. The spider's there now. We get this, luckily this container's got quite a flat edge, so what we can do is we can just basically put this over top of the spider like this and get it into its box. Spider's not being defensive at all, and it's as simple as that. Spider's now secure in the transferring container, so this gives us now plenty of time to rehouse it and set up its permanent adult tank. But before that, let's have a closer look at the spider.
So here she is, a beautiful young adult female. A little bit on the thin side. She molted about 3 weeks ago, so she still needs to feed up a little bit. But as you can see, she's not a huge specimen, but definitely big enough to mate and to breed. So this is why we're going to move her into a more larger permanent accommodation.
So as you can see now, the substrate is expanded enough, it's absorbed that water and it's usable now. So because arboreals don't need a very deep substrate, we're just going to use a few handfuls to line the bottom. This is good for humidity. So it's just a matter of squeezing it in there. You don't want it too damp. When you pull it off here, you don't want to be, so when you squeeze it, there's a tiny bit of water comes out, and that's the good consistency. Okay. Just going to gently pack it in there, squeeze a little bit more off, get that in there. You want about 2 to 3 inches in depth. I'm just going to lightly pack it down, because some arboreals do dig a little bit down into the substrate, building their chambers in their containers to feel a bit more secure. So next up is always add a little bit of moss, sphagnum moss. You don't have to buy expensive moss from a pet shop, just go to your local garden centre. They've often got good enough stuff there to use. It's all the same stuff, it's just rebranded for pets. We use a couple of, just a slight handful of this, just usually in one corner, and again it helps maintain humidity. So that's that done. There we have it. A few inches of substrate, a little bit of moss, that's all that's needed. So cork bark is our next step. We're going to add a little bit in. So on these glass tanks there's a little bit of mesh on the back, which is good for ventilation. You do sometimes have to be careful. Some tarantulas can bite through this mesh, so bear that in mind if you're using one of these tanks. Okay, but personally, over 30 years keeping tarantulas, it's only happened to me once. Alright, so it is a bit of a rare thing, but it can happen, so bear that in mind. So the next step is adding cork bark. And these spiders live in holes in trees, so we need to replicate that a little bit in captivity. I use 1 or 2 pieces here, just wedged in, and this creates a nice barrier between the outside and where the spider possibly could hide. So we're going to rearrange that nicely in a good way against the back. It's better. Okay. Good. As you can see there, this is where the spider will spend most of its time. But because this is going to let in quite a lot of light, we need to cover this. So we're going to get some black paper and cover that and give the spider a bit of privacy. And it also feels a lot more secure once it's inside. So we're just going to plug up this back end with a little bit of black paper. So as you can see, it fits around there quite nicely. So best thing to do is fold it slightly. Fold it here. And then again. On this side here. We're just going to hold that in place. A little bit of tape. that's it. Basic tank ready to go. So the final step is to put the spider back into its permanent container. It's just a reversal of the same process when you caught it. Get the lid off very gently. The spider here, I'm just going to get it like this. I'm going to use my paintbrush again. I'm going to gently move it into its permanent combination. So it goes behind there, into the door for. So there we go, the spider safely rehoused in its permanent adult accommodation. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.